serving you a dose of wisdom and humor with a dash of radiance. Welcome to Biscuits and Sunshine with your hosts, Callie and Landra.
Hey, y'all. Pull up a seat at our table for the next serving of Biscuits and Sunshine. I'm Callie.
And I'm Landra. It makes me hella happy to have you here with us. We're recording this from Distance Sport Audio Studios in Athens, Greece. Welcome to episode 13, Dekatria. Pame. Let's go.
Wow. It has been so long since we've been in the studio.
It truly has.
Like the last few months have been a whirlwind of trips back to the U.S. for both of us, vacations and work and recovery. It's been a lot. We have not had our regular cadence of sit-downs together. How are you feeling?
Aw, I know. I kind of miss it.
Me too.
I've seen you, but yeah, this cadence of connecting and, thinking about strategizing what we want to talk about. So I'm really happy to be here today and be back on this, this fun creative project, but also like a bit of structure that I'd been missing in the last few months, like you mentioned, with so much going on.
There really has been so much happening for good and for betterment, let's say.
Oh, I like that. Betterment. Yes. Yeah. No, we both had trips home to the U.S. Independently. We overlapped a little bit. I think you went first and
yes,
then
I
went.
Yeah.
Yeah. How was it for you?
It was good. I always spend so much time with my family when I'm home. And that's the thing that I need. I always sort of have a little bit of reluctancy when I go back to the U.S., only because my lifestyle here is so different from the lifestyle that I have back in my American home.
Yeah, say more about that.
I walk everywhere here. And in the U.S., which is great, but I drive everywhere. It's great. I love the freedom. But it isn't to me the same, like getting out and like running around the circuit in my parents' neighborhood, doing like the 3 miles that they have is not the same as just like walking to work, walking to the pharmacy, walking to get coffee. I have a lot more activity built up in small moments throughout the day because it's easier for me to do it that way. I have to struggle to get up and go for a run. And if I have to struggle, the likelihood of me doing it long term, very low.
Doesn't happen. Yeah.
No,
I hear that. You get so used to the city lifestyle. You just open your front door and like you said, just walk here and there's a restaurant or run an errand. So what you said resonates so much because, I was definitely back in suburbia. And when I did go for walks, it was kind of like people were like, what are you doing?
Look at that weirdo.
Unless somebody's like running or walking their dogs, there's just really not a lot of that, at least in our neighborhood.
Oh, isn't that sort of telling about the leisurely activities that we share? Because inevitably, if I go to dinner with Greek friends, let's go for a walk after. Everyone wants to walk after dinner, even if it's just 15 minutes. I was like, why? When I first moved here, I thought, what? Let's just walk home. Why do I want to go for a walk? About midnight. I don't want to go for a walk at midnight. But research-wise, walking after a meal is super healthy, but it's sort of baked into what they do here.
Yeah, it's rest and digest.
Smart.
Yeah.
Rest and digest.
So how else was the rest of your time?
It was great.
Family's good?
All of my family's good.
Aw.
We had lots of time together. We got to celebrate things together. So I was really happy. I'm always really happy when I go back. And I'm always happy to come home to Greece, which I think is the best of both worlds, right? You want to be happy to visit. You want to be happy to go back. You want to be happy to see friends and family. But you also want to be happy to return to the place where you live.
Absolutely.
And it hasn't necessarily always been that way. Sometimes, especially at the holidays, when I'm in the US and I'm coming back to Greece, I sort of get really sad to leave my family. But the more that I do this and the more I go back and forth, the less I feel that sadness because I become more comfortable in navigating the distance between us when we're apart.
Oh, I like that. Well said. What I hear in that is that there's a little bit more of a rhythm and a cadence that you've gotten now with going back, coming back, returning, navigating really what life is like between two homes.
Absolutely. 100%. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, it was so nourishing and healing for me. I hadn't been back since my dad had passed away. Didn't know that was going to happen when I went back last year. So there was an intentionality of going back when it was around Mother's Day. So that was nice. And just being with extended family and friends that I would call chosen family that I spent time with. I needed to be back in that same space for me, but also for like what's the word? Not the word, but like a better reason, I guess you'd say, a more normal, in quotation marks, whatever that is, reason to be back.
What did you come back with from this trip?
What did I come back with? Like I said, a feeling of more healing. I'm still in the grief journey. I think it's just something that it's always there, but the word healing, I guess. So how do I illustrate that? What does that mean? Is that being back in my family home, even around my dad's things, we did give some stuff away. And that actually felt really good. It was mostly clothing that we were giving away to some organizations, and I got to be a part of that. So I think, me being a part of the process was healing. My dad would always be doing something in the backyard. He's really creative, and like how cute he was with like spray painting things and finding new little things to put around the garden, and then like, taking care of certain plants. Like his energy was in that backyard 100%. So spending my mornings enjoying my coffee and sitting out there, that felt really great. One funny thing happened when I was there. I was just thinking about this the other day is, and I hadn't noticed it, and I didn't realize what would happen. So we were sitting there having my coffee, and some bug or something hit me on the side of the face, and it scared me so much. And I pushed it away and got up and like shook out my shirt and was like, ah. And I was kind of like, okay, that was weird, and didn't think anything of it. Then the next day I'm back there and I'm seeing these beautiful dragonflies.
How cool.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's what it was a dragonfly, because it was big like that. But I was like, what the heck? I knew it wasn't a bird. And it scared me, but I was like, Dad?
Are you there? Also, why did you throw a dragonfly at me?
I know. It's so crazy. I don't know. That was something that just kind of came to me that was like funny. And yet, I don't know, like not only did I feel his presence, but I was just wondering, like literally
physically felt it too.
Physically got hit on the side of the head. Yeah.
What I'm hearing you say is that you were able to form sort of a new memory in this place that held so much memory for you already. And that in and of itself is probably very nourishing and very healing. I remember you telling me when you were home right after your dad passed, you and your mom went to the restaurant where he and she used to go. And I felt like that was such a great way to sort of help your mom form a new memory and a new connection with a place that held so much importance for her and your dad. And I feel like the backyard is the similar place for you. Like it holds so much importance for you and memory of your dad that now you were able to sort of sit there and feel and heal in a way that wasn't rushed. It wasn't in that moment of initial grief. You've had a little bit of time.
Yeah, more space.
Yeah, and so I feel like that's where we start to rewrite the like pathways in our brains so that memory isn't just grief. It's grief and love mixed together because we're able to address both of those.
Oh my God, you just verbalized that so well for me. That's exactly what it was. It was like this space. And, it's interesting because some people will say that have been through loss that, oh, now you're just learning to have a new relationship with your dad in this new way. And I've been like, yes. And like, how do I do that?
Yeah.
And yet now I'm just realizing when you said that was part of it. That is part of it. Yeah. And the other thing I was just now kind of like, how am I kind of in the grief phase is like, it comes and goes. But the other thing I was realizing was how much, and this is why I actually do want to talk about it. I talk about it a lot with different people is because in our culture, it's in the shadows. It happens. We're like, okay, and nobody really wants to talk about it. It's like we don't want to make each other feel sad or like, I don't know what it is, but the sadness is always going to be there. And sometimes it's not. But back in the olden days, or like, before, I guess, kind of this technological life that we're all living, it was so much of how you got through grief was through community. And so that's the other aspect I'm realizing I took away with me, or brought back with me in my heart and my body and my soul was, yes, family, but then our community of Portuguese club members. We have we call it the festa, which is like a festival. And that happened to be going on while I was home, didn't plan it, but that gave me an extra level of like, oh, and, again, people that remembered my dad and people that would bring it up and then we got to share wonderful stories because that's really what, helps is like keep that memory alive. Just because they're not here doesn't mean we can't talk about them. And not everything is going to, bring me or anybody grieving to tears. Some of it's like really, we need like some of those joyous moments and to hear from people like their stories of him that like I might not have known. That was really beautiful.
Yeah. It is in some ways not necessarily relearning, but this idea of how does the relationship sort of flex and change as, okay, he isn't here in a physical sense, but you still have so much. I mean, I hear you talk and I see you talk and like I see your dad in you, in both the way that you speak, but also in the things that you enjoy. So physically, no, but like he's still so much here.
Yeah.
That it's great to hear those memories from other people because you're still adding to that. I think that's such a valuable thing.
Thank you. I don't know why that just really touched me. It's beautiful, because tears are so cleansing. So I really these days, I'm allowing them to come and to really feel. I intentionally picked that word for the year. It was feel, create, and expand. So we've created this podcast.
Right.
And I'm just feeling it. Thank you. I think that's part of the healing too, is like not, not just being in it, going back to community, not being in it alone, and sharing that with other people. And then by hearing other people's words like that, just kind of like allows things to kind of, it's like an energetic kind of movement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's so many things I want to say. I'm trying to organize my thoughts. One of the things you said is that the trip was healing for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like healing has been a big theme for you here in the last 6-8 months, but even more specifically, maybe in the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah. What's interesting is moving here to Greece, I had this sense that I couldn't put my finger on it exactly, but I'm like, I feel like this is going to be like a healing phase in my life. And I think I looked at it as like a step into like a new version.
Mm-hmm.
But I could not have predicted all what that meant, like what healing meant. Healing can happen on many different layers. And yes, the emotional one is really present. But I think what you're pointing towards is my shoulder surgery that I finally had. I think I shared with you all before that it was happening. Ooh, what a big relief. I can't tell you. It just so much anxiety and like unknown kind of working up to it. So I had it here in Greece. I have survived and now I can live to tell about it. Yeah, it just was so long overdue. And if anything, I was like, oh, finally. So yes, the surgery was successful. I'm now in PT and getting more of the mobility, and it has been hurting. It's not been easy, but there's progress. But yeah, there's been so much physical tenderness that I've been going through. So the healing process is really what's alive for me right now. Yeah.
I'll never forget when we both were back from our trips and we had found a moment to connect before you had your surgery. And I think I've told you this. It was almost like sitting across the table from someone that I didn't know. I could tell you were in so much physical pain. And the surgery was a few days away. I could tell it was so present on your mind. It sort of was like, who's the Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh?
Yeah.
Like you couldn't get out from under it because it was so a part of your experience in those days. because it just sort of gradually got worse and worse from what you've said.
Yeah, it's
the
true.
pain it became so much at the forefront of every single moment of every day.
Oh, yeah.
That I remember thinking, man, at that moment, you still had questions about the surgery. And I was thinking, whatever happens, it's going to be better than this.
Oh.
I was just thinking how much it was like your sunshine had dimmed. Your sunshine went behind a cloud.
Oh.
That's what it was. And now to come here and to see you raise your arm after just like a few PT appointments, the progress is so real and the pain is so real.
Yeah.
But progress over perfection, right?
Yeah.
Even though there is pain and stiffness and sort of relearning,
Yeah.
I don't have to be afraid to move this way or that way.
Yeah.
Like, you're proof that with time, the healing happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I won't lie. It was dark. Like, you're right then going into it and then also coming out of it, because the pain as well too was a lot to manage. And all the stuff that your mind starts to tell you of like, is it even going to get better? Maybe I'm never going to not feel pain. Like, yeah, it was tough. And, to be housebound and, just so sick of watching TV and then not being able to get comfortable. It just like all the things. So any of you all out there that have had surgery or any major health things, like, it's
Our
a
hearts
process.
go out to you.
Yeah, my heart does go out to you. And, I will also say if, it's maybe something that's upcoming for you, it will get better. And so it's a good reminder. And it goes back to what I was saying earlier, like not being insular about it and kind of stuck in my own mind, talking with somebody. We talk about this for mental health, right? We know this is going to be better for us. And as much as that growth mindset of like, that's just how it is right now, like that was just not enough for me. I was just really like, I was almost irritated by the growth mindset.
Yeah, this cannot be it for me.
Yeah.
It's like, I refuse.
Yeah.
To have a life full of pain.
Oh, yeah, all that. And I will say too, then the beautiful part of community is like you as a great friend came over, you washed my hair. I mean, just all the little things are just so wonderful to have other people, and I'm one that's not, like I will ask for help, but it just felt like I can just really relax into being cared for. Yeah. You, my husband, all my friends that reached out, like it was so lovely.
Well, you deserve that.
Oh, thank you.
Because I do think you put a lot of care into the people that are in your circle. So it was just a reflection of you.
Yeah. It goes back to what you say and like being open to just really receiving. I think sometimes in the past, I know I have. And as women, sometimes you could be like, oh, no, I'm fine. Oh, me, no. No, I was like, please, I'll take anything. Because this isn't working for me by myself.
Yeah, it's a big lesson to learn too.
Yeah.
I think especially for eldest daughters, for people who are used to holding things together for themselves, but also for the people around them.
Yeah.
This idea that I should allow people to do this for me. It's okay for me to let people do it for me. And then like going through the action of saying, okay, I will have this done for me. All big lessons.
Oh, yeah.
I was listening to a TED Talk the other day, and the speaker was saying how we are bombarded daily with so many messages of scarcity that we don't even like sort of recognize it. And the amount of anxiety, whether noticed or unnoticed, that sort of lives in our system because of that is outrageous. It's like her example was news articles about kidnappings, Amber Alerts, going to the grocery store. And it was like, this is a code Adam, where if a kid goes missing in the supermarket, then the whole supermarket shuts down. So she was just sort of confronting all of these fears around her own children. And by the time she got to where she was going, her anxiety was at a 10. And she had to really sort of battle with herself around, is this accurate? Is this me? Is this like, she had to figure out where this came from. And if it was an actual sort of understanding of a threat that's real or not. Because sometimes I know research says our nervous system can't differentiate between a real threat and a perceived threat.
That's right.
And so if you are not used to naming these things, you can sort of stay in that heightened moment, that heightened awareness. And then sort of like the scarcity mindset takes over.
Yeah, it's like it hijacks our system, and then it impacts how we think, what we do. Yeah, all this stuff. What we don't do, probably because we're, fearful. Yeah.
I've been thinking about this a lot, as you can tell, like taking in a lot of data and research around it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I find myself having this sort of, oh, life is so good, but it's going to be bad at some point. And I hate thinking that. Like, I always feeling like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. That no one deserves to live that way. And so I'm very aware of the fact that I do this in certain situations. And so I'm sort of trying to get to the bottom of why.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things I've been thinking about recently.
It reminds me a little bit, we were talking about too, is like how this surgery and any health, stuff that I've been dealing with is like, it brings you into the now.
This
is I can only deal with this right now. And it's a weird feeling. I mean, it makes sense. Like when I'm in it, I'm like, oh, I can't, there's no more I can even handle. But then it's a weird feeling because I'm such a planner and an organizer. And whether it's like, people have been asking me, what's your next trip in the summer? And I'm like, oh, don't even get me started because I feel like I'm missing out. Right. But I'm like, I don't have any. But actually, there's a freedom in that too. So I'm just thinking about like how scarcity kind of fits into that. It's almost like a future worry. But yeah, I'm curious if you've kind of noticed a relationship between what you're mentioning with what you're dealing with scarcity versus like being here, the future. Yeah.
Absolutely. I start to think about the future and I start to want things in the future. Not that we all don't want things every day, but I start to like, I don't know, spin up my mind around certain things that I want. And then I get afraid in the future to lose those things in the future. And I'm just like, and then I'm 7 episodes into Bridgerton and I don't know what to do after it ends because I just need to sort of like not think about this for a little bit of time. But yeah, there's absolutely this focus on the future and it not being a good activity for me when I'm in that mindset. So being present, although super hard in many ways, is a good sort of remedy for that, for me, the scarcity mindset, because I can sort of do a rundown of all the things I'm grateful for in life, all the things that are going really well. Like you said the other day, like in the grand scheme, life is really good. Life is really good. And so I can sort of ground myself in those things. Like, okay, my family's healthy, check. I'm healthy, check. I pay my bills, check. I have friends, check. Like I can do all these things.
Yeah.
And okay, I don't have to worry about anything in this moment. But maybe I let myself off the hook a little bit. But that's one of these, maybe it's a habit. Maybe it's a defense mechanism. I don't know where it comes from. But it is one of those things that I want to let go of. I've been sort of thinking about like we're entering into sort of the final months of the year. What do I want to bring with me? What do I want to let go of? What do I want to leave behind? And this is one of those things. Like, I don't want to always think, wow, life is really good. Oh, but what if aliens invade tomorrow? Not that that's what I'm worried about, but and that's like a stupid example.
Are you feeling more of like, oh, it's too good, so the universe needs to balance it, so something bad needs to happen?
Absolutely. Brene Brown calls it foreboding joy. Where like we're in a happy moment. And in order to beat sort of vulnerability or beat life to the punch of things getting bad, I'm just going to go ahead and think of the bad thing now.
Oh, yeah. I feel that. It's a real thing. Yeah.
I steal the joy from myself in this moment because I'm worried about something that may never happen. It also probably comes from working in crisis communication because I'm always thinking about worst case scenario.
You're definitely programmed for that. What you're getting me to think about too, I've noticed is, one thing of how much energy it takes to heal. So meaning that like, gosh, I went to the grocery store the other day, do all my exercises at home and I'm just like wiped, but I'm like, oh yeah, my body needs that energy. It's reallocating. So like on a, mental level, I know that. So what I noticed is like, where am I low? Where do I have energy leaks essentially? And one thing I noticed, and I'm totally, I have such a love-hate relationship is social media and Instagram, because there's a part of me, it's like, oh, I want to connect with people. I have all this time on my hands, right? And there has been some beautiful connections, but then I was also like, no, this is just not, it's pulling my energy. And so I think about the scarcity. Social media might be one of them, but there might be other things too that might be almost feeding that.
I 100% agree. And anytime you message me and you're like, oh, I'm getting off social media for the week, I'm so proud and also slightly envious because I know why you're doing it. And I think it's such a valuable thing to do. And yet I don't do it myself because I feel all the things that you just mentioned. It's like a leech in a way.
Yeah.
Like a sucking of my energy, my creativity, my free time, all these things.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. One thing, quite a while back, this is like back in the US when I was like, probably the last big meditation retreat I had. And I'm trying to remember when that even was, probably 2019. And it was something that a teacher had said that really stuck with me. And I was really using it as a filter to check in with myself. Is this activity or whatever, a choice that I'm making when I'm on the fence, is like, is this leading me towards suffering or towards my liberation? And so that is something I've been bringing back, that in this healing phase, it's almost like okay, when I know the answer of like social media is like, because sometimes I just want it. So I will. And I'm like, no, I'm choosing it. And it's just, I need it. So it's neither suffering nor liberation. But other times where I'm like, yeah, this isn't going to fill me up. Okay, then it's a no. So I just offer that as maybe something that might be a helpful lens to think about as well.
That's brilliant. Because sometimes we say, if it's not an immediate yes, it's a hell no. But I feel like the language around, does this lead to my suffering or my liberation? That's definitely sort of like putting a line in the sand and saying, on which side do you want to live?
I think that's it. I think it just really like thrust me into this, like, pick a side, and the side is really obvious.
Yeah. Yeah. I pick suffering, please. But in some ways, when you do activities that will lead to that, you know what you're signing up for.
Yeah.
So it's obvious to all of us. And yet here we are talking about it on this podcast because we continue to sometimes make choices that we know will eventually lead to our suffering.
Yeah. Man, there's so many life lessons we have learned since the last time we connected.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that we allowed ourselves this time and space just to free flow a little bit and just share what's really real right now. And, I'm, like, as always, hope that this connects for those of you that are listening, and just might spark a little, I don't know, something in you as well, too.
Yeah. Somebody said in response to listening to our podcast that it was like listening to two friends have a conversation over coffee. And literally that's what we've done today. No plan, no script. Just a couple of Fredo espressos and a couple of friends.
That's so true. I was going to joke and say this episode is sponsored by Fredo Espresso.
Don't be depresso, have a Fredo espresso. I don't know why, I just went Italian. So we wrapped up another episode talking about our most delicious coffee choices. And we are so grateful to have you here with us today. We wouldn't be here without our amazing team of supporters, including Alex at Distance 4 Audio for all of the technical help. And of course, you guys at home. If you're listening to this on Spotify, make sure to fill out the survey. We love getting feedback from y'all.
Our hope for you this week is that you give yourself some time and space to check in with yourself. Maybe you even grab time with a friend just to have a casual catch up and be real. Really dive into what's alive for you right now in this moment, because it's just so nourishing to be able to connect with another, to be seen, be heard, and just to know that you feel really less alone.
If you love what we're serving up, be sure to subscribe and rate on your favorite streaming platform. Also, head over to Instagram and give us a follow at Biscuits and Sunshine, all spelled out. This is Biscuits and Sunshine with Landra and Callie.